Okay, how about now? Wait a second. How about now? Nothing, 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 nothing.
No.
Nope.
Oh, yep.
Yes. Working?
Yep, I'm deleting this.
One minute. Okay. Think we have our settings correct now, and Adam says he hears me. Jeez. Technology. Okay, so we're running 5 minutes late. Sorry about that, guys. Had a little bit of a Dave snafu glitch. That was a user error, they call it. So I think we're all set. Am I right? Adam says, I hear you. I hear you. And Nick says we're good to go. So I got this great technician in the sound booth here. His name's Nicholas Ayers. And so I'm going to get you your questions here in just a minute. But before I do, I'll give you an introduction. Those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet in their group, good to go. So sound room, yes. Video, yes. Audio, it's all good. So thank you everybody for joining me. Those of you that I haven't met, so the reason I'm looking down, I'm on my phone because Google Hangouts doesn't allow the chat feature, so I'm going to use the group in the event in the group, and that's where you'll want to type in your questions. So go to IAOA, the group, as a member, and click on events, and you'll click on the coffee Q&A event, and that's the one we're going to use. And I will, so Adam Sawinski just posted, do not follow link, go to IAOA Alliance website, click on media, you'll see the feed, exactly right. It's in the event, several places. It's IAOalliance.com/media. But if you're already watching this and you're hearing me, you know that. So because you're here. Okay, so let me go into the group, and I see all your questions, and we have audio, and all right, we're off and rolling. So here we go, everybody. So my name is Dave Jackson. I'm one of the co-founders of IAOA, and I'll give you a brief introduction, a little bit about my background, my history, so they'll give you an idea as to why I might be able to answer some questions you might have, right? So I've been in the industry this July. I'll be 39 years, long time, since 1979. I'm from Iowa originally. I started right out of college with AAA in Iowa. I worked for them for 11 years. Then I worked, actually had a downsizing, and my position was eliminated. So I went to work for, back then it was called AMS. They were the big dog versus Applied back in the day. This was in 91, right? 90, 91. And I was a sales agent, field agent at Iowa and Wisconsin for AMS. So I sold management systems, just like Hawksoft and EasyLinks and Applied and all the systems out there today. And I sold them to big agents, small agents, and I had 2 state territory. That's when I got introduced to the independent side of the channel, because AAA was basically the captive side. And so that's what got me interested in agency. I work for AAA mostly in training and administrative capacities. But so working for AMS, I got to visit independent agencies. And this is like first generation hardware and software systems for them. And so computers, really? I got to give up my paper files, right? This is just when the internet's just getting going. And so, you know, things like downloads and all that data transfer was just a new term. And so I had to convince them that, you know, technology is the way to go. So I did that for 2 years. And that's what really got me interested in agency. And it just had to happen to have a connection through a AAA coworker whose husband was a district manager for Allstate. Well, nah, Allstate, I wasn't interested in that necessarily, except that, hey, come talk to me because we now have a new contract. It's called EA, exclusive agent. So you're not an employee like the most of them already were, and most of them had come from Sears stores. If you didn't know, Allstate was owned by Sears originally. They eventually went public. But we have a new contract. It's for exclusive agents. So I was the first exclusive agent in the state of Iowa back in '91. And that meant you were 1099, independent contractor. You were not an employee. You got much higher commission rate. And so you paid your own expenses. And everybody thought, you're nuts. You're crazy. You don't get your office rent, yellow page ads paid for by the company like we do as employee agents, and you're nuts, you'll never make it, and blah, blah, blah. So 6 years in Iowa as an Allstate agent, and 4 out of those last 6 years, I was the top producing agent in the state of Iowa for Allstate. What's your secret? Oh my gosh, how'd you do this? This is incredible, you know, and you got to have some secrets that, you know, and nobody else knows about. And I said, no, it's called hard work. Okay. So just so you know, it's just called hard work. There are no secrets, in case you didn't know that. So we had a chance to relocate. So I actually sold that agency back to the carrier. That's one of the options you had. And we relocated to Omaha, Nebraska. And I started a second Allstate agency there. Same thing from scratch, just like the first one. Didn't know anybody in Omaha. Handful of relatives. That's why we moved there. We had relatives. But and so I had that one for 4 years. I sold that one to an outside buyer that Allstate approved after 4 years. So a total of 10 years with Allstate. And then I actually went back to AAA for a short stint. Eventually moved to Arizona, and for a really short time was out of the industry, and decided to get back into agency and start a State Farm office. So if you know State Farm's protocol, they like you to have, you know, nice office locations, potentially most of the time storefront, visibility, all of that, and hire staff right out the bat. And they, you know, compensate you for all of that. And you go through 8 months worth of training, and then you open your office. The first year, kind of like what's called a probationary period. And at 10.5 months, it came to me for my review and said, we don't think this is going to work. I said, what do you mean? I'm ranked number 4 in 10 months out of 35 in the sales district that I was in, and in new business production. Auto, if you didn't know, is their primary flagship product, preferred auto, and I ranked number 4. And they said, yeah, but we don't like some of the other things that are working in your agency, and so no, it's just not going to work. I was really surprised, actually. But what that did was it opened up a new lease on life for me to go independent, and that was almost 4.5 years ago. And so when I went independent, now instead of one mouth to feed, I've got many. And so 4th agency, all 4 from scratch. But although I do have a caveat on that. So when I left State Farm at a storefront retail location, strip mall, and I stayed right there. And that's where I still am today. And so got to give you some information on that, because there's a little bit of cheating. Same location, same phone number, because I own the phone number, same website, same address, all that stayed the same. And so all those folks I wrote in 10 months, we recovered 3/4 of them. So when we went independent, and in a lot of cases, not all, but a lot of cases, we were able to save them some money, got them better coverage, et cetera, et cetera. And so we retained that business, a lot of because of those specifics. So I was very fortunate that way, and hired different staff, and actually let all that staff go because I didn't know my future for a while. And then went independent, haven't looked back. One of those captives who switched and went independent, and it's been absolutely amazing. So today I have myself, I have a staff of 2 and 2 outside people. I have 1 full-timer, I have 1 3/4 timer who's our office manager, Michelle. Jeremiah, who you see right there, is my inside support and sales staff. And I've got 2 outside producers. And so our agency overall is $2.85 million in written premium. When you're small like me, we talk premium dollars, not revenue dollars, because revenue doesn't sound impressive at all. So you talk premium dollars. So sorry about that. Some of you don't like that, but that's what we do. And so, and all from scratch. My top 3 agencies here in Arizona are Safeco, Travelers a close second, Progressive ASI is a 3rd in closing, and then we've got a whole host of others. And I started because I only had 6 weeks from the time State Farm told me no go to opening to my end of my contract and start. And so I wanted to hit the the road running, right? Hit the track running. And so I actually researched and joined a cluster group. Mine's one out of one based in Illinois, and I'll maybe get some questions about that later. But anyway, so that's a little bit about my background, probably more than you ever wanted to know. But so a long time in the industry, started 4 different agencies, 3 of which were on the captive side, 1 independent 4.5 years ago. And there you have it. So let's get right to your questions, because it's not about me. It's all about you. And hopefully I can impose some knowledge and sharing. And you're more than welcome to share comments in the group. If somebody has a question, I'm going to read them to you. And I'll give you my feedback. And maybe some of you can share your feedback as well. Because a lot of times your questions are very unique. It can be all about geography or location. You know, I'm in Phoenix. I'm in a 6 million person metropolitan area. So it's hard for me to relate to somebody in a rural area, a rural setting, because I don't know that. I'm from a small town, but 80,000 people. It's nothing like, you know, small town, rural area. So anyway, let's get to that and we'll see. So right off the bat, if you are watching this and you're in IAOA, go to events and find the coffee Q&A for newer agents. And there's a post in there. I said, post your questions here. And that's where I'm going to read your questions from. So hopefully I'll catch as many as I can. And I'll go as long as you need, all day long. I don't care if you want to stay on for as long as you can. This is being recorded, so it will be replayed later if you need to jump off or need to tell somebody to come back later on and watch it. So Dana Dubois, I believe that's how Dana says it. Downloading, not yet begun, as not all companies will do until I get a specific volume. Are you downloading? I am, because I'm part of a group, so, or a network or aggregator, cluster, all kinds of terms. It's basically because you're part of a group. And so I got my IBAN's code rarely quickly. Any of the carriers can issue that to you. I was suggested to get mine through Safeco, so I did, and it was a pretty quick process. And yeah, we download all personal lines for the most part. There's a carrier too that's manual still, but you know, it's oddball stuff. But our top probably 10 to 15 carriers all download. There's no commercial downloading, but on the personal line side, and to give you a heads up, our mix of agency, we're more of a generalist. I've got a couple of niches on the commercial side. But we're 80-20, 80 personal, 20, and I'm a preferred market, so we don't do much non-standard auto, preferred market, and I'm in the East Valley, Gilbert, Arizona, the metropolitan Phoenix area. So yes, I'm downloading, but I'd be curious to know, Dana, what is the volume that your carriers are telling you you need to have before they'll allow you to download? And I'm suspecting that you have direct appointments, and that's the reason why they're requiring that of you. So if you can comment back in there, hit reply to your own question. That will help. Maybe we can attack that. Seems to me like, yeah, I don't know the answer, to be honest, but seems to me like downloading is not like a super expense to them. So I don't know why one policy or 1,000, I don't know why downloading wouldn't be available to you, but it certainly is a benefit for sure. I'm guessing you're either under a year or, and I can't, it's hard for me to, because I can't have initial feedback from you, or you're just not, you've been in business, you know, long enough and your volume's just not there where they're not going to do that. So maybe we can get to that in a little bit. Renewal management, now getting to the point, I have some. So you're just past a year. What's the consensus on reviewing renewals? Absolutely. Only, so with the download, we use Easy Links as our management system. And so downloads into Easy Links, and we get reports. So the reports will help us through our management system know what premium is from this policy period to the next policy period. And they'll give you a percentage, and that's a key indicator. I read where some of our agents in the group, they review every renewal, every personal lines renewal. At some point in time, that's got to be not feasible, in my opinion. There's just way too much. That's my opinion. Some people do it. I don't think most do, though. I think most choose a threshold, a percentage of increase, like maybe 10%. I've heard is pretty common. That's what ours is. So if it's below 10%, it's fine. In particular, if it's property. Property is primarily escrow bill, and most people have no clue what the premium is. They don't watch it like a hawk like they do their auto. They know to the dollar and cent what their EFT is every month on their auto. And if it changes, oh my gosh, you're getting a call. So that's much more sensitive, not property, not homeowners. So it's billed through their escrow. They see a little bit of an increase on their house payment, but their taxes went up too, and so it just doesn't worry too much about that. Now, all that being said, on renewals, I got to tell you, I've been in the business a long time. Last year, 2017, was the most volatile year I have ever seen in the business in terms of renewal increases. And it wasn't just one carrier too, it was every carrier in our agency, and I presume yours too. It was a very difficult year to manage. So multiple double-digit increases across the board, not just 10%, not just 15%, sometimes 20%, and that meant a lot to manage. So 2017, I'm hoping, was an anomaly, and that doesn't happen in this 18. However, it still seems to be, but it's got to ease off at some point. You know, distracted driving and all the reasons why the carriers are saying we need the rate. So in our agency, we review renewals if there's an increase of 10% or more on any given line, and we research the reason. Sometimes there's very valid reasons. Added a teen driver, changed vehicles, all kinds of change address, all kinds of reasons why that rate is valid, and they don't know or expect that. They would with teen drivers, but because that's usually pretty significant. But if there's nothing that we see as just rate, then we'll go compare. And we'll offer a comparison of all our carriers, and we'll show them, hey, you're with carrier XYZ, and here are the rates for carrier XYZ and ABC, DEF, all the others. And here's where you stack up. And we'll show them that. And that helps put them at ease that we've done our job in still researching the market for the best coverage at the fairest rates that we can find. So a good question there, Dana. Prospect and lead tracking best practices. So here's my thing about prospecting, because it's probably, if I read all through every question here, it would probably be the #1 thing. In year one, and I'm presuming you're newer agents, you're probably in year 1 or year 2. Year 1 is what? All about new business production, right? Sales. So you don't have to worry about servicing much. You don't have, I mean, eventually you will, but in first year you don't. No renewal processing, none of that. So your job is to produce new business. How do you produce? Let's put it in simple terms. How do you produce new business? In simplest terms possible, it means the more people you can talk to, the better your opportunity to send out proposals. I don't use the term quote. Send out proposals and eventually close those and write business. So more and more people. How do you get in front and talk to more and more people? How are your ways of communication? Count them up, right? Face-to-face, telephone, email, chat, all kinds of texting, all kinds of ways to communicate these days. You know, I started back when face-to-face and maybe direct mail, and not even email before the internet. There were limited ways. So phone and face-to-face. These days, there's multiple, you know, digital ways to do business, and you have to take advantage of them. So, but I'll tell you what, in terms of actually meeting people face-to-face, my favorite way to meet new people is to network. When I first started my State Farm agency here in Arizona, doesn't matter, captive, independent, doesn't matter. Business is business, a new business. And I didn't know anyone in Arizona. I knew like 3 people. I moved here 9 years ago. Single guy, since met my wife shortly after moved here. We've been married 9 years. I didn't know a soul, no kidding. So, but I'm not afraid to talk to people, as you can imagine. I got the gift of gab. So I networked. I mean, every night of the week, every day, every morning, every breakfast, I went out and I networked and I met a kabillion people. Facebook has a limit of 5,000 friends. You can't have more than 5,000 friends. Most of you limit that to people you know, or people you meet, or people that you physically have talked to face to face. And same for me. And I maxed that out in almost no time because I met so many new people. And in networking, it's social time, basically, a lot of it. Some of it's structured. I never belonged to BNI. I created my own networking group for a period of time. And then eventually it's just referrals. And I do use social media. I'm not afraid of, new technology, and I love it. And so I do use Facebook a ton, as you can imagine, being a admin of a couple of groups. I've only done 2, and they both were wildly successful. So those are ways to contact people. So if you think you're going to just, open an agency up with no business plan, no marketing plan, no plan of any kind, and just have a phone number and a phone and expect it to ring and you're going to write business, it's not going to happen. You've got to go out and see the people. So here's another example. When I get people say, hey, I got a referral for you. Okay, great. What's their name and number? I'd like to call them. Or would you make the introduction so I can talk to them personally? Not just give them my name and number. No. What happens? You sit and you wait and you wait. And phone never rings, right? So I want to be proactive. I want their number, their phone number, their email, whatever. And, these days, a lot of times they start with a text. And will you allow a phone call? Nope, don't have time. Call me whenever, or absolutely call me now, whatever. And that's how I make initial contact. So network. It's almost free in most cases. I didn't join any paid networking groups, but I can't tell. I bet I had, I'm not joking, I bet I had 15 network meetings a week, 15 a week. And, average of a dozen to 20, 15 to 20, maybe 10 to 20, somewhere in there. Some are small, some are much larger, especially mixers, things like that. And I wasn't a business card monger. Like, I got to have 10 business cards passed out today. I wouldn't do anything like that necessarily. If I had a quality conversation and it warranted me, you know what? You and I might need to talk. Here's my card. My cell phone is all right on the back. That's how I make an introduction. I just didn't hand out a card to anybody. Carte blanche. Crystal and Castle. I feel like I need to hire someone to get to the next level, but I'm not at the point where I could pay myself, much less anyone else. My carrier offers a producer loan, but I am really nervous to take on any more debt. Any suggestions? This is one of the classic questions that every new person gets. So, Kristen, I don't know where you're at in your agency in terms of tenure. You're probably under a year, maybe past a year. But here's what I'll tell you. If you, at some point, you're going to have to bite the bullet, right? So here's what I'll tell you. At year 1, now you're starting to get renewals. And that's a bump in increase in your, hopefully, in month 1, if you sold some business, in month 13, you'll be seeing renewals and you're going to see an increase in your commissions. So hopefully that's happening and you get past that point. In my opinion, in year 1, unless you've got the means to hire a producer to help you with the new business sales, which is what you need right out of the bat, that might be an option. But in terms of assistance, you're probably going to have to do it all your own. Hire a VA, somebody remote. You won't need an office. Keep your expenses lean and mean. Most cases, unless you've got financial means, don't start with an office. Stay home based. Keep your expenses down. Just do what you can with technology, and don't go crazy. But keep your expenses in line so that you're not going overboard. Because you're right. It's at some point you'll be able to pay yourself, but for a while you don't pay yourself. But here's what I'll tell you. At some point, you got to make the decision to at least hire part-time. That part-time person can be remote or VA or however. Probably won't work, side by side with you unless you're doing training and such. But you're going to need that person to do that kind of service work. When it comes in past 1 year, well, between your first and second year, you're going to need at least a part-time service person. You know, there's been, for a long, long time, there's been industry standards that X amount of premium personal lines, because it's so transactional, requires X amount of people to service. You know, that with automation that can come down, but with automation there's also expense. So you know, it used to be one full-time person. You need one full, or excuse me, 1 million in premium personal lines. You need one full person. So if you're at 500,000, you might need half a person. So if you're at the end of your first year and you're having this struggle, like what you're talking about, a half-time person. Don't start with a full-time person. You don't need that yet. Maybe that same person can graduate to full-time if that fits into your situation and theirs. But you have to take the service off your plate so that you can focus on new business production. So new business, new business, new business. That's what you're going to be doing your first 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Me personally, I'm still in new business production. I've been my whole life. There are some who are completely hands off. They want to be management once they grow, and they want to take that side off. It's personal preference. I enjoy producing, and so I make that choice to continue to traditionally produce. And with my referral base now, and the fact that I've been able to set such a significant amount of referral sources, I funnel those to my producer. I take care of a lot of them myself. And, you know, for me, $50,000 new business premium in a month is, I do that, you know, just because I wake up every day. So it's referral business that keeps coming in every day, day after day. And so, but I don't do the service work. I do almost probably 1% of service work. And that's only because I'm filling in the backup or something like that. So I pass that service, that kind of work off. So it's a struggle. How do I go to the next level, right? I can't pay myself. I don't feel like I can afford to hire someone because I just don't see the money in the bank. But if you take the leap and hire at least a part-time, half-time person, I don't care. Max a credit card out, take out a loan, do what you got to do to get that service. You will be amazed. In no time, you'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did. I guarantee it. It happens to everybody who's done it. Everyone I've ever seen. It's happened to me. I've seen everybody do that. So at some point, you have to take the leap, or you will immerse yourself in service work. And eventually, your new business sales will go down because of it, because of the time split. And then you'll find yourself in a real quandary, and you'll feel like, I can't pay myself. I can't pay anybody else, and so I'm stuck. What do? You have to make that leap. It's a leap of faith, but if you make it, you'll be glad you did, and you won't regret it. Hearing problems, we got those out of the way. So Brooke Sarah, after attending a couple of great seminars, I have analysis paralysis. I want to build a team, implement great technology that includes automation, video quoting, and marketing. How many direct contracts should a one-woman shop be able to handle? Direct contracts. I presume you're talking about carrier contracts. Oh, and I need an office. Currently working out of my home. I too cannot take on any more debt. Please help me prioritize. So direct contracts. That's a very difficult question to answer unless I know, or you know, somebody knows your market. So if you're like me, you're metropolitan, big city, right? I'm presuming you have what you have is direct contracts with carriers. So here's what I would tell. This is a great question. I'm glad you brought this up, Brooke, because this is what I have conversations with. I talk to lots of newer agents who consult with me or call me individually. So, and here's what I asked. I just had this conversation maybe a week or so ago with someone. Do you have a marketing plan? And do you have a business plan? Did you write one before you even open your doors or start day one? You know how many times I get, no, I haven't done that. I'm just amazed how many times I hear that. So your business plan is going to lay out things like expenses, income and expenses, your anticipated income, your anticipated expenses for year one, for 1, 2, and 3, years 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if I go beyond 3 years because those can change or it'd be hard to predict. But and then your marketing plan is, how am I going to generate new business? And how am I going to get it on the books and then keep it, stay on the books? How am I going to do that? So here's what, and they say, I don't have the carriers. I'm in business. I don't have the carriers I need. So had you thought that through? So here's what I suggest to them. They say, I know I need carrier XYZ. Could be, I don't know, Safeco, pick anybody, doesn't matter. Travelers, whoever the carriers are you think you need in your market. Here's what I suggest to them. You should have done this before you open your doors, at least 90 days prior, maybe even further. But since you haven't, try this now. So determine who are your top 3 competitors. This guy I had a conversation with last week said, I got essentially 4, 5, and 6, and I'm getting beat all the time. Well, no kidding. Because why? You're getting beat by 1, 2, and 3. The top 3 carriers in your market. You need those top 3 carriers. Well, how do I get them? I said, I don't know the answer to that, but you need to get in touch with those 3 carrier reps who service your area locally and find out if a direct appointment is an option. I don't think it is. How do you know? Have you talked to them? Yes. Or I kind of heard some ideas, or maybe yes, a couple of years ago. No, you need to talk to them recently. So get the name and the number. Somebody in your local area that you know should be able to help you out with that, or call the carrier direct, track it down, do some research, find the name and the number of the marketing rep. In my area, the bigger carriers have several. So in Arizona, you know, like Safeco has 4, Travelers has 4. And someone would be assigned to, you know, new business or new contracts or new appointments in your area, in your state or city. So get a hold of them, and you need to figure out a way to attract those carriers, to convince them to give you an appointment. How do you do that? That's the big question. How do I get carrier A, number 1, carrier B, number 2, carrier C, number 3? Those are the 3 I'm missing, and that's why I'm getting beat. I'm having a hard time writing new business. It adds all up, right? So you need a marketing plan at the very least. When you go to carrier A and say, I want an appointment, why should they even listen to you, right? Because you built and written a marketing plan that says, here's how I absolutely plan to get business that's going to match your appetite in the market. And that's going to be able to allow me to produce X PIF or X premium. And this is my plan. And that plan's got to absolutely wow them. And that's the plan you're going to follow to begin with, once you've written it, so that you can do it. So that means networking. That means referral partners, right? Mortgage, realtors, title, whoever. It could be car dealers. It could be anybody who's going to be a referral partner. I have in my agency, I'll post it in the group. It's our preferred vendors. Hey, Dave, who do you recommend for exterior painting? Hey, Dave, who do you recommend for a mortgage loan? Hey, Dave, who do you recommend for a moving company, right? All those kinds of services that are homeowner related, or it could be like an insurance related partner. I have a sheet. We obviously send it out digitally. It's PDF most of the time. I'll upload it in the group. And it gets changed from time to time, but for the most part, those are real stable partners. They're people I've gone out into the industry, or into the local market, if I didn't already know them, and became good friends with them, because that's what networking does. It builds great, solid relationships for you. And when you first meet, hey, I'm looking for a body shop. Are you Safeco preferred body shop, or Travelers, or whoever, Progressive? Great. You're the exact guy. And you know, the personality, right? They gotta kind of mesh, and they really hit home with you personally, that these are going to be great partners for you. And put them on your referral partner list, and create a list like that and send it out. That's what we do to all our clients when they say, hey, who do you recommend for this? So I'm like considered the recommended. Who does Dave know that he can recommend for X, Y, and Z? Who does Dave know that I need a plumber for, or electrician, or any kind of contractor for that matter? And our list has probably 30 different referral partners, and those have all been built through relationships, and I guarantee you they all started with some sort of networking at some point. And so if you haven't heard me say the word networking at least a dozen times, you'll hear it several dozen times before we end this call, because to me that's absolutely critical. Relationships. So back to Brooke, and I ramble, I realize. Can't take on more debt. Direct contracts. How should a one-woman shop be able to handle? So who is it you need? Why do you say you need more direct contracts, Brooke? Are you missing number 1 or 2 or 3 in your market on personal lines, let's say, or commercial, either side? Are you missing that carrier because for the market that you're trying to attract, you need them, or you're getting beat by somebody else who has them? Is that why you need them, or why do you think you need them? There's got to be a reason why you think you need them. And second, have you even talked to them? Talk to them. Develop a solid marketing plan, not a business plan, a marketing plan that's going to explain to them, here's why I'm going to write. A lot of them say 50,000, right? New business premium first year. Forget 50,000 for one carrier. And I don't know your market. If you're in Idaho, you're very low premium. Maybe 50,000 is a lot. If you're in Michigan, 50,000 is like 2 policies, right? So it's very relative depending on, again, on location. But you've got to determine, in my opinion, show them a marketing plan that will tell them that you virtually have a plan that will lock in $100,000 of new business premium, not just their base minimum of 50. 100 or more, whatever you need to shoot for or more. So I know that's a lot, and maybe that doesn't answer your question absolutely directly, but that's other than, you know, doing a one-on-one, that's the best I can tell you on a general basis. Okay, connect, yes, it works. I can hear. Okay, Didrik Wilson did the same thing as far as captive to Indy. Still trying to find the best way to get my old clients back. It's been a year since I left captive. So with State Farm, they had a 1-year non-compete. I absolutely adhered to it. Did not make one phone call to a client or email, not one contact. I'm a man of ethics. I signed the contract. I agreed to it. So I'm going to live by it. And I told, if you listen to me at the very start, I told you that I was very fortunate to have the ability to stay in the same location, same phone number, same website, which meant same email address, same, which made it a huge advantage. Totally admit. So those people found me. I didn't even really need to pick up the phone, but I did put it out there on social media. I will tell you that. Hey, I'm no longer a State Farm agent. I'm independent. I now have multiple choices. We're not with just one company any longer. And those people saw it. A lot of them. Hey, Dave, I need to call you. I have State Farm with you, but you think you can get me a better rate? I just want to stay with you. That's what most people would say, because I knew them. A lot of, you know, friends and acquaintances, business partners, or relationship or referral partners that I had written business for while I was a State Farm agent as a captive. So how do you get a hold of them? Number 1, adhere to your contract. Mine was 1 year. If yours is more than that, you get a little bigger challenge. But if it's only 1 year and you say you're past a year, doors wide open. I mean, at 366th day, the day after my contract was, I met my obligation for 1 year non-compete or non-solicitation. For the rest of those, the other 25% that didn't stay with us, we were on the phone, emailing, texting. Hey, just want to let you know, in case you didn't catch it, and sent letters. We did postal. We did every means of communication so that we could get a hold of them and tell them that, you know, our model has changed, not our location, not our phone number, not our email, etc., but our list of carriers, and we can get you at least the same coverage, hopefully better rates. But we want to make sure you're protected. So I've been a year since I left a captive. So Didrik, tell me how long your non-solicitation requirement was from that captive. If it was 1 year and you're now past a year, you're good, right? If it's longer than 1 year, it's maybe 2 years, I'd be surprised. But if it is, because State Farm's only 1 year. If it were 2 years, I'd be surprised. But if it is, blast it out there as publicly as you can. Don't go direct individually. Honor your contract. Do the right thing. and do as much as you can within within their restrictions, without violating their requirements, and get the word out. Brooke, back to Brooke's got another question. What mistakes would you avoid had you known beforehand? Okay, so this one's really easy for me because a lot of people do these kinds of things and I read about them all the time. Hey, I've looking at or got a contact or call solicitation from a company, and right down the street I have a Safeway grocery store. They say that I can get my ad on the back of their grocery receipts printed, and my ad will be there, and all they have how many thousands, tens of thousands of transactions a month, right, come through their grocery store, and my receipt will be on there. How much is that going to cost me? It cost me X. I don't remember. So that's display. That's what I would lump into a category of display advertising or marketing, if you want to call it marketing. To me, it's not marketing. To me, it's just put your name out there and hope the phone rings. And that's being passive and certainly not proactive. It's reactive. And I am not a fan of reactive marketing. Everybody who comes into my office on the fly and says, hey, I got the best thing, you need this. I'm like, you don't even know me. How do you know I need that? There's a guy that comes to me and he does still today, 2018, he does printed maps. You know, the one of the city, and it's like nice little fancy Where's Waldo artwork, and here's your business here, and here's another business over here, and you get your logo and all of that, and your phone number, and it's given to all those businesses to pass out, and maybe welcome wagon or new residents, all that kind of stuff. Reactive marketing. Not a fan of reactive marketing. Back in the day, this is my age again, before the internet, I know you guys hate to hear that, we did telemarketing. You probably heard of it. It's not too common anymore, but I telemarketed like a fiend, I'm telling you. So we would take what was called a cold directory, big thick manual, and it was residential, and it would list people by their street address, street number by their street, and have their name and their phone number. Actually had their phone number. So we would call them up, hey, you know, and we solicit that way. So anyway, that's old fashioned, not doing that anymore, but that was proactive. That's my point, not reactive. So to answer your question, Brooke, reactive marketing, just in general, I never did do the grocery store ads. I knew better. I was not a fan. Same thing with billboard. How many times you see somebody, hey, hey, do you have any success with billboards? I had one right by my office, big, $1,000 a month, great spend, and I got nothing out of it. You know, you ask everybody who calls into your office, hey, how'd you hear about us? Not because of the billboard, even the one right above your office door, you know, or out on the street, you know what I mean? So that's not a way that really draws business. That's, you know, that's the attorneys do that here. And I don't want to be lumped in with that style of professionalism. That's just me. That's my preference. So it doesn't work for me. Diedrich Wilson. In my area, a ton of Facebook groups, they are buy, sale. Do you recommend putting content on those groups or start my own like you have done? So here's what I'll tell you. Great lesson, and something about Facebook groups, and something I happen to know a thing or two about. So at Innovation 18, when I had my chance to talk to you guys from the stage, I told you that you're all here. Thank my neighbors where I live here in Gilbert, in a neighborhood called Morrison Ranch. Thank them, because that's what where I got my teeth cut and learning on how to build a Facebook group. I did a neighborhood, right? We have it's not a gated community, but a fairly new, 20 years or newer are all the homes in Morrison Ranch, and built this group. Never had a group before, and I wanted to make it. There's groups around, but not specifically for our neighborhood. and there's lots of buy-sell groups, tons of them. They're all over the place. They're huge here too. So I wanted just to make it, get to know your neighbors, events. Hey, lost a dog, all that kind of good communication stuff, crime related, things for safety, and that's what my intention was. Well, eventually, hey, I want to sell my stuff, and what better? I'd rather sell to neighbors. So we didn't say no. We allowed the buy sell stuff in our group. And I'll tell you today, I am no longer the admin of the Morrison Ranch Facebook group. Yeah, I know. It was a sad day when I felt I needed to relinquish it. 4 years in running. I had 2 moms who were backups for me in the group. And I did a lot of good things for my neighborhood. Tons and tons of good things. And that's what drove business my way. And I didn't do it for that reason. I did it to be a good neighbor. And I got a report that today that group is 90% buy sell. It's sad. It kind of went a different direction, and it wasn't my original intent. That's why. So I learned a lesson. So IAOA is only the second group I've ever started. It's been very, very successful in my opinion, and that's why we're absolutely adamant about the way we want that we feel like we need to run it. We don't want to turn in obviously a buy-sell group. Who wants that? I got thousands of choices of buy-sell groups right nearby me if I need that. We're an industry group, so we don't want to allow outsiders like captives or carriers or vendors or producers. That's why we keep the group the way it is. The integrity of the group is so important. If I'd have put a clamp down on Morrison Ranch and said can't sell anything, they'd have found another way, and they would have moaned and groaned and fought me tooth and nail. They did for a while, and I put it off as long as I can, and finally I just kind of threw my hands up and said, you know what, do what you want to do. My original thought was post whatever you want to post, just be respectful of everybody else in the group, and for the most part that was adhered to, but there were people who just couldn't help themselves, have to sell their $5 toy that their kid no longer uses. So anyway, Michael Frankie, have you created your own marketing material to leave at new home construction neighborhoods, mortgage lenders, and elsewhere? Or do you use carrier material with your agency listed? Great question, Michael. So number one, I don't use any carrier related material ever. Not one. Not one piece, not one digital piece, not one paper piece, not one. I don't want to brand or market any one carrier. They may be with ABC today, and next year I want them with XYZ. It happens. It happens to every one of us every day. So why would I do that? I market Jackson Insurance Group. That's it. And yes, I have PDFs of new home construction, mortgage lenders, and they're actually in the files tab. I've shared them. So if you go in the files tab, that's a big tab, and Facebook does not allow any search in the files tab or any kind of sort function. That's something I really wish they would work on, because it's all chronological, the newest to the oldest. And when it gets to 400, 500 plus files, it's hard to search through them. I will admit that. But mine are in there. I've uploaded them, and they're in there. So absolutely, mortgage lenders. Really, really excited about joining Preston Schmidley with and learning about Facebook ads and targeting for not just our agency, but referral partners like mortgage lenders and realtors, because not only will you build that referral base for your agency, you'll help those businesses grow as well, because you're going to be able to provide them with new leads. It's a lead generation program with new leads for their own businesses. So Diedrich says he's right at 1 year. So back to his question of, get my old clients back. So if you're at 1 year and that's the 1 year limit, I'd try every way possible. Text, phone, email, postal mail. In any one of those ways that you get a hold of them, they're going to see it, actually view it, right? A small percentage of the time. A phone call, a voicemail, if you have to leave a voicemail. What are the odds you'll get through? It's a small percentage. Email, small percentage. So you have to try all those ways, including postal mail. Do a postcard, right? What is it, 25 cents for a postcard? Do them all. And how many do you have? You can't have thousands or even hundreds, maybe 100, 200, I don't know, but can't be that many. So if you've only been at it 1 year, but I don't know how long your old clients were acquired over a period of time, but I try every way possible, Diedrich, to get them back. They had a relationship with you at one point in time, so at some point they said no, or you had to move on and they didn't follow you. But you know, just like everybody else, they don't want to talk about insurance. So why would they? Why would they just say, "Oh, Diedrich, we want to follow you wherever you go"? Some will, but not everybody. So you need to be proactive again. Proactive. That's the key. Brad Schaefer, Dave, what about the do not call list on calling folks you don't know? I agree, proactive is better, and I do take the risk in calling them. If you're doing it right, so that's how old I am. Do not call list? What is that? So there was no such thing. It came out in the late 90s. I telemarketed prior to that. But today, if you do it by the book, you are supposed to adhere to the what is it, FTC rules as to the, you know, especially with bulk telemarketing. No robocalls. Don't do robocalls, people. Oh my gosh, my cell phone rings. My student loan debt is never existed, and I still don't have it at 59 years old. I'm probably not going to have student loan debt again, but they don't call me because of that. They just do robocalls. They pick phone numbers, I realize. And so they'll pick any phone number and just to get the machine to dial it. But don't do that. That's, some people think, oh, you can hit, you know, millions in an hour. Okay, if that's the route you want to go, you know, go for it. Not my preference. I want to build relationships. How do you build relationships with robocalls? So back to Brad, do not call list. Absolutely, that's important that you do that. So how do you do it? You need to use a list service. I don't know how you're securing phone numbers. So however you are securing people you don't know, and you've got a list and you got their phone number somehow. How did you get that list? Whoever provided you that list, or maybe you created it on your own, I don't know. But whoever provided you that list should have adhered to, if they're selling the list, to the do not call list rules. So yeah, you need to be careful of that. The one time you make a call and you get an attorney on the other end, he says, hey, do you know anything about this rule or law? I'm like, yeah, I kind of do, but sorry, I'll take you off the list. So okay, where are we at? We got any more questions here? Looks like somebody's typing one in. Let me make sure I get to the group and make sure I didn't miss any. Okay. Networking, right? Network as much as possible. Get back into the group here, or into the event, and see if there's any more questions. 41 comments. Did I get them all? I don't think I read 41 questions. Let me look at all of them again. Dana.
I don't know why that came on. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So Dana says close 700,000 with 5% commercial lines. So you're heavy personal lines, Dana. So here's the thing, Brad. You're congratulating Dana on her 500. Dana's 500K personal lines in 1 year. Sounds pretty good. But in Michigan, It's all relative, guys. Try not to compare premiums, because what you think is awesome, killing it in your area, might be only average in another area. So my extreme examples are always Michigan and Idaho. They're high end of the scale to the lowest end of the scale. So it's important, don't get me wrong, but when you go to comparing, that's where you got to be careful, because an average auto policy might be $2,900 in Michigan, and in Idaho it's $900. So it's like 3 times as much. So 3 policies in Idaho to every 1 in Michigan. I don't know what the numbers are. I'm just saying it could be a ratio like that. So be careful of comparing from one to the next. I agree. If 500,000 sounds like a very good number for a new business production year 1, and I'm not saying that's not cool, because that's very cool. But be careful about relating it to your situation, because it may or may not be a good comparison. So Michael Frankie is trying to help Dana with her download thing. Do you have an Ivan's code yet? Safeco required it, and I was able to get mine within 2 to 3 months of starting. That's usually, it only takes 3 or 4 weeks to get an Ivan's code. That's what you need for downloading. And once you have that, you'll give that to each of your carriers, and they'll use that to get your downloads done. But so I don't know who, Dana, you have as far as carriers that aren't allowing you to download. That's surprising to me. I would push the envelope on that. Even if you've got that kind of volume, holy cow, how much volume do they need before they start downloading? That just doesn't seem feasible. Okay, so yeah, Dana's saying homeowner premiums crazy in South Florida. Yeah, exactly. Crystalline, we got that. Brad says, feel the same way. Hired someone, decided not to pay myself for another year instead. I'm on the start of my 2nd year. Dave is making me feel better. So yeah, after year 1, during your 2nd year, you really need to look at that part-time person. And Brooke says, thank you. Problems. Brad, thanks for doing this. Our aggregator with SIAA does not require the downloads. We should do it, but have not had the time to do it with QQ Catalyst. I'm fearful that will complicate my Brad. So I'm taking it you haven't seen what downloads do for you. If you knew, you would do it in a heartbeat. Okay? It'll make your renewal management process absolutely fruitful compared to doing it manually or some other way. I don't know how you would do it any other way. Got to consider that, Brad. That's a technology thing that you cannot be afraid of. You absolutely need to jump in, feet first, head first, get downloads. QQ Catalyst can handle it. There's lots of our IAOA members are using QQ Catalyst. Some aren't in love with it, some are, but it'll download your, you can get your downloads into that system just as easy. I actually acquired an agency last year. I use EasyLinks. This agency used QQ Catalyst. And so we moved that, of course, all over to our side, and we kept QQ Catalyst. I kept the subscription for it so we could access those policies for only 60 days past the purchase date. So after day 1, it was May 1st, we're almost coming up on a year. For May and June, on July 1, our QQ Catalyst, I took over his subscription. We ended it. I didn't need it any longer, and it wasn't a problem whatsoever. So that's kind of related, but not to your situation. So you need to get downloads, Brad, man, without a doubt. So, okay, you've answered most of these questions. Let's focus on technology and number of carriers. Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, that's Brooke. Hopefully, Janine, you got on. Hopefully. Let's see. Brent Moore. I'm up to you, Brent. I started a new agency with little funding. Haven't we all? We're probably all in the same boat. At this time, I have about 100 PIF and no management system, and use an Excel spreadsheet for tracking. At this time, I can't afford the system while I'm spending more on marketing. Any suggestions? Absolutely, Brent. I do have a suggestion for you. You don't need a management system at 100 pip. You do need a comparative rater. So there's many out there. Easy Links, Hawksoft. I don't know where you're at. There might probably a preferred one. There's ITC. There's FSC. There's, oh my gosh, there's probably a dozen comparative raters. You need comparative raters. If you think you're going to take, and I don't know anything about your agency, if you're personal, commercial, especially if you're personal, if you've got access to 10 carriers, I don't know what your situation is. You must not be with a cluster. You must have direct appointments. You must not have too many if you only have 100 PIP. But even if you only have 3 or 4, a handful of carriers, you're manually rating every one of them. You're going to every carrier website and producing a quote and comparing them and finding out which one you're going to propose to your client. So you need to be more efficient with your time. A comparative rater will get you that quote in seconds, virtually 5 seconds. For all the carriers, they'll rank them highest to lowest, lowest to highest, however you want, and you'll know exactly what you want to do. And you'll be able to do much, much more, allowing you to do more marketing, which is where you need to spend your time. Face-to-face communication, talking, chatting, texting, emailing, phone calling, however you want to contact people. That's where you need to spend all and as much of your time, and not on quoting. You obviously have to quote, but you don't want to spend your time manually quoting. So you need a comparative rater, and don't add a management system. However, when you research rating systems, comparative raters, you want to look at their component or connectivity. If it's not like a built-in like Easy Links or others, I use Easy Links, so I know them well, where management and management system and rating is built in seamlessly. So you need to look at that before you invest in a comparative rater, because down the road you'll be glad you did and not have to make a change, because now I went with a standalone rater and now I've got to move into one where they both talk to each other, the management system and the rater, and now you got to make a change. So do your research in advance, but don't buy the management side. They'll allow you to buy the rating side alone and invest in that. Can't afford the system. You don't need a management system. It's just for comparative rater. You can use a spreadsheet if you want to, or any other marketing system to track, so you can do follow-ups and all that. There's really inexpensive systems that you can use to do that. I mean, really inexpensive. But you need a comparative rater, and get that right out of the gate. It's not going to be a lot, under $100 a month. So $50, $60, $80 a month, somewhere in that range, between $50 and $100 a month for one person, for one license, for a competitive rater. So definitely look into that. Ask the group, ask the IAOA group, or actually use the search box. That question's been answered 100 times probably. What rating system do you like best and why? Ask some of your local folks too. It can be a bit of a local thing. Or a statewide thing. Didrick did the same thing. Okay, back to his. So find the West Bay. Okay, good. We answered Brooke. Question. I wish it was sortable. The files tab. Me too. Facebook has done some nice things with groups, and they realize groups are hugely popular within their marketplace, but they need to do some work on the files tab. Hopefully. Okay. Michael Frankie, what is your average day / week look like as far as office work versus networking and marketing? I don't know that you want my answer for today, because I don't do much networking today. I network with a lot of my existing folks, my existing referral partners is what I mean to say, and marketing. But that's because our phone rings because so-and-so told me I should talk to you. And the so-and-so is our referral partner. And so those are the folks we have set up. I've got mortgage lenders set up, realtors, and everybody else on that referral list that we created for painters, electricians, contractors, realtors, mortgage lenders, every kind of possible service that somebody would be looking for. we've got them on there. And I'll post that in the group as an example. Didrik 1 year, 17 years. I also have ever lead that I had generated. My niche was educators. Every lead that I had generated, my niche was educators. I'm not quite sure if that's a question, Didrik, or what exactly. Maybe we'll come back to that one. Amy Holloman, do you have a referral program in place? And if so, do you think it is worth implementing in the beginning to increase the amount of referrals? So, referral program in place. I presume you might mean, I'm going to guess, but I presume you might mean, Amy, what do you give in return for a referral, right? Is it a Starbucks gift card? Is it something of value? Okay, that's probably what you're referring to when you ask, do you have a referral program in place? If so, do you think it's worth implementing in the beginning? So here's what I'll tell you. This is probably contrary to what most will say, but I don't believe my service, I'm actually providing these people a favor by allowing our agency to provide service for their referrals. Here's an example. A mortgage lender says, hey, Jimmy, my client who needs a new mortgage loan, you need to talk to Dave. They do that for me, or provide that lead or referral to me, because they know that there's no one better that's going to take care of them and will make their transaction process go smoothly, so they close their loan quicker than any other insurance agent could allow them to do. That's what I've sold them on. So you can go to XYZ agency down the street and refer your clients to them, or you can refer them to, and take your chances, and maybe they've told you they'll do XYZ in terms of service. But what most mortgage folks want, they want, number one, the proposal fast, and they want the least expensive, in particular in cases where their clients are close on margins, right? So what that means is they're really tight on being able to qualify for a loan. They got to keep taxes down, everything on the escrow side down as low as they can to qualify to get that monthly premium into their ratios in line, so they can qualify and spend less time in underwriting, the mortgage loan underwriting, and get that loan closed as quick as possible. To a mortgage lender, getting a loan, just like a realtor, getting a house sold as quick as possible at the best rate is the best way, is heaven for them. Same with the mortgage lender. I need the best rate, I need it fast, and I need it closed as quick as possible. That's what you're going to help them do. And if you do that and follow through on your promise, that's what they want more than anything, more than a cupcake, believe it or not, more than a Starbucks card, more than anything of value that you can give them. And so I have never given any of my referral partners anything of value. Besides that, there are restrictions. Your state, either RESPA laws or your state insurance department may limit what you can provide them. And I don't even care about that, because I don't provide any of them that. We have such a great, solid relationship that they know that I am helping them close business. And that's what they care about. They don't care about, and if you're dealing with somebody who says, hey, XYZ agency down here will give me $100 for each lead that I give them, or $50 or whatever. Okay, go do business with them. You're not the kind of person that I want to build a relationship with. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate your help in the sound booth. And then hopefully that answers, Amy, your question. Is it worth implementing it? Well, in my case, I would implement it day one, because there's really no spend to it, because you're not buying them anything of value or offering them something in return. But you got to sell your value in your agency and the service you provide. And think about it from their perspective. How is this insurance agency going to help me? Ask them, what's your primary objective in using me as your referral source for an insurance agency? What's your primary objective? Is it getting the quote as quick as possible at the lowest rate, hopefully have multiple carriers, right? You can solve that problem. And getting the loan closed as quick as possible. You don't want to be the obstacle for them. They hate obstacles, just like you and I do when we write new business. We don't like underwriting obstacles. Same thing for a mortgage lender. They want their loans closed quick, fast, and just get it done smooth. That in itself, if you provide that service, they won't go anywhere else. They're yours for life. Okay, currently only selling with people I know, or the last year, 1 year in. Brad Schaefer, calling people on the do not call list. Well, they're people you know. They shouldn't mind you calling them, so you shouldn't have to worry about a do not call list. But I suppose, but if they're people you know, referrals from State Farm agents have been tremendous. Let me comment on that. So a lot of you folks, when I talk about networking, who else can you network with? Mortgage lenders, realtors. Yeah, you can network with captives. I'm not a big fan of that though. I have some that want to call me, and I almost tell them, "What do you got first?" And then I decide. Because why? It's the stuff they can't write. State Farm can write a lot of stuff. I know, I was an agent. So they got a pretty broad appetite on personal lines. So they're either sending you not, aggressive dog. They're not sending you that because they allow that. They're sending you maybe a swimming pool risk with a diving board that they can't handle, or something outside the norm. And if you want to write outside the norm, go ahead. But you're not going to round out the account. You're not going to write other business. And you're going to write things that outside the norm generally are problem causers, and they are inefficient. So you hear a lot of folks say, walk away from the business that you shouldn't be writing when you're new. And when you're new, boy, I know, you want every commission dollar coming in the door as possible. That means you're going to write some things that you probably shouldn't be writing. It's bad field underwriting. And later on, you'll regret it, but I needed that income in the meantime. That's a quandary. And you'll hear a lot of veteran folks say, be selective. It's hard, really hard. It's one of the hardest things you'll do. You want to write everybody and anybody that you can quote. And it doesn't matter. You'll go long, long lengths to get somebody to, write a camper that they own. They want to rent it out like Airbnb, right? And you find that, oh man, there's not much of a market for that. I've looked everywhere, and you're going to go to bat and find them someone who will write that. And you're going to spend all this time and aggravation and time, probably not much money, but time spending where you could have gone out and prospected 3 normal risks. And instead you get this referral of somebody that's like got something totally out nowhere, left field. And they're hard to write. They take your time, and they're generally short term. They're not long term. So write the bread and butter, and write as much bread and butter as you can, because that's what's going to retain a high retention ratio, 92% or higher, and it's going to stay on the books, and you'll be so, so glad you did. So I have a different opinion on captives. A lot of people say, I get all kinds of great leads from captives. I would have to debate. I love to sit down and debate that. So Brooke comes back and says, what technology should be priority as a scratch agency after AMS? Well, see, that's the thing. I just talked about AMS. I'm not a fan of starting out with a full-blown system. Start with a rater, maybe 6 months in, between 6 months of the year, then start to consider adding the management side, because there's some service work. You can do whatever service work takes place or is needed in the first 6 months. You can do that without having a management system and just the rater. So that's cost effectiveness. Go that route, add the management system later, and then you can add things like active campaign for there's campaign management inside other systems like EasyLinks, but you'll see a lot of integration with active campaign, or I'm sorry, not integration. You'll see a lot of talk about using both an email management system like Active Campaign, where you can create campaigns to follow up with cross-selling and different things like that. While I'm at it, that's a great topic. Cross-selling, okay? I would run lists since day one, year one as an agent, I would run a list every which way to Sunday. Auto with no home, home with no auto, auto and home with no umbrella, auto, home, umbrella with no life. Every possible combination of lists for cross-selling. And I could tell you on one, I am not kidding you, on one handful, how many clients I had that I didn't, and I knew their names and I knew what they didn't have with me. I was absolutely diligent about cross-selling my book of business. That's why I would get my business to 2.9, 3.1 policies per household, not 1.2, not 1.4. No, you want it in the high twos to the low threes. And if you're doing that, you have a solid retention, and those people will never leave you. Almost never. You will see Claudia McLean renewal type rates, 95, 96, 97%. Grant Botma stewardship, 97, 98% renewal rates. They manage and nurture customers, and they don't leave for a lot of reasons, but number one is because their book of business is cross-sold and they are a family. I'll move the auto with you today, but not the home. Okay, you need to build a better relationship to find out why that is, and how are you going to go about building your trust, their trust in you, so that they are, no question, I'm moving it all, and you are my insurance agent for everything, for absolutely everything they have, business if they have it, whatever it is. So that's my comment about cross-selling. I am listening, Dave. We'll start with automatic downloads ASAP. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Hence, I'm already paying for it, just not implementing. Oh, you're killing me, brother. You're paying for it? Oh, don't even do it tomorrow. It's what, in Arizona now, 10:21 a.m. Do it by 10:30 a.m. today. Brad, oh my gosh, you're killing me. Currently only selling with people I know over the last year, 1 year in. Okay, let's see if I got any other questions here. Gone a long ways, almost an hour and a half. Thanks, guys, for sticking in with me. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you've got as many of your questions. Still have 10 of you left on here. If you got any questions, fire them off now, because otherwise we're going to close this up. And let's see if I have any other questions. Not on that part. Within the event, the live webinar event. Hopefully I was able to help some of you out. Somebody else is coming in with a question. Crystalline just commented. It's a little tricky because I got to find these comments underneath other comments, Brad, gotcha. I agree. I live in semi-rural West Virginia. I get it. Okay, so okay, hang tight with me, guys. This is a little tricky thing about Google Hangouts and not having a chat feature where I can look right at the screen and see your questions. Got Brent Moore. Brent, direct appointments for carriers, Safeco Travelers, PGR, and foremost, I use ITC. Good, you're on a radar. That's good. So that's all you need for now. Don't need a management system 6 months in. 6 months to a year, start to look at it and look at ITC's integration with rating and management. You want them to be able to talk to each other as much as possible. Hopefully I got your question answer, Brooke, about mistakes. Reactive advertising. Don't spend money on that. Don't like money mailer, coupon, mailers. I'm not a fan of direct mail. In the day it used to be, not anymore. Back in the day. Amy Holloman says yes. I mean, you must be answering my question back, yes. Brad, Didrik, Crystalline, thank you so much. You're very welcome, Crystalline. Thanks for coming on. Diedrich says, I've been doing blogs, video for Facebook marketing, targeting groups, also Instagram, not received any leads, but it's marketing. Do you have any recommendations for social media? I put up different content content to attract leads, but it seems nothing is working. So here's what I tell you about that, Didrik. You need to hook up with a website. You apparently have a website, right? You need to hook up with somebody who's providing you a website where you will blog. You say you're doing blogs and video, where you blog, and that website is so optimized for SEO and Google search that your phone is ringing because people are finding you on Google. So that's what your SEO will do for you. And if you're not getting that now with your website, you need to talk to somebody who does do that for you. I use Advisor Evolve. The owner is Chris Langell. Chris has owned an agency. He knows agencies inside and out and what people are looking for, and he knows websites. Probably it was a good move. He's moved from insurance over to just the website side, and he knows websites inside and out. AdvisorEvolved.com. Definitely check him out. His sites are so well optimized. If you're not using somebody and you're trying to do it yourself, don't do that yourself. Give it to a professional and expert, because they will do a much better job for you, in my opinion. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I don't see any more questions. I want to thank everybody for jumping on today. My local time is 10:26 a.m. here in Arizona. Right now we're Mountain Time. Again, this is Dave Jackson coming to you from IAOA, our live webinar on Tuesday, February 20th. And this was Coffee Q&A for newer agents. And I think we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody. This is Dave Jackson signing out. Take care. Bye-bye.